Thanks again for tuning into this episode of the Grit Strength Podcast. We really appreciate your support. If you enjoy the messages and the content that we share, please pause this episode, go to iTunes, subscribe to the podcast, and then leave us a rating or a review. That's how we get ranked on iTunes. That's how we're going to be able to spread this message to more and more people. So pause the episode, go subscribe, leave us a rating, leave us a review. Thank you again so much for all your support.
The ball is tipped, and there you are. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star, and all the years, no one knows just how hard you worked. But now it shows in one shining moment.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Grit Strength Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Ware, coming at you again today from the truck, on the road, actually on my way over to the west side of Indianapolis to work out with one of our athletes, and wanted to get, again, this episode out, so rather than sitting in the office, thought I'd do it in the truck. So again, I apologize for any background noise there might be as I'm driving over there, but this is kind of a special edition podcast in regards to March Madness and the culmination of the college basketball season. And for those of you that have followed, my journey personally, obviously I played high school basketball in Indianapolis. I was blessed enough to be able to walk on to Indiana University, at one of the most prestigious schools, in the country for sure, in the Midwest. And it's something that every kid in Indiana, grows up is to play at a high level of college basketball, but Indiana University is usually one of those spots that people dream of playing at. And I've told people a million different times that, walking through the doors into Assembly Hall for the first time and at every home game definitely gives you the chills and is an experience that you never forget, and something I really miss. But I'm telling you, on top of that, walking into an arena or walking into an environment that March Madness provides, that the NCAA tournament provides, is something that is truly something I cannot put into words. It's indescribable. It gives you an absolute adrenaline rush, and is something that, again, most people dream of, and when you actually experience it, it takes it to a whole nother level. So what I want to talk about today is some different things related to March Madness, again, that we can relate back to our own lives. And I want to start with one shining moment, which I played in the intro here for this episode. And, that's something that always gives me chills before I played, while I played in college, and even still to this day afterwards, especially now that we work with, a lot of athletes who are playing in March Madness, who play in the NCAA tournament and, play at a very high level all year long. It's something that has a really special meaning to me, and I know it does a lot of people, even the ones that maybe didn't play at the college level, ones that just enjoy the game. And, the words in the beginning of that song talk about how, for all the years, no one knows just how hard you worked, and now it shows. And that's truly what, the NCAA tournament, in particular, the Final Four and the national title game, really represent, really what they mean. College basketball is an accomplishment that a lot of people strive for, but not a lot of people attain or achieve. Just like in life, everybody's got really high expectations for themselves and goals and those sorts of things, but not everybody's always willing to put in the time and effort that it takes to get to that level. It's one thing to talk the talk, it's another thing to really walk the walk and put the time and the effort in. And I saw a great quote the other day that, you don't have to enjoy the hard work. You don't have to enjoy the tough workouts. Some people do, and if you do, that's awesome, that's great. But a lot of people don't, and that's okay. But you have to crave that end result so intensely that the work is irrelevant. You know where that work is going to lead to. You know what that tough, everyday grind, if you want to call it, is going to lead to if you stick with your process and if you continue to raise your effort level every day. And so again, when you go back and look at those words, I think that's a really great way to look at it, especially an event that's like March Madness, that's like the NCAA tournament, is You know, that's a culmination of years and years and years of work. Everybody thinks it's really cool to see a guy like Jalen Brunson do the things that he did throughout the tournament and do the things with his teammates that Villanova did. But that all was put into place a long time ago. It was put into place when he was a kid, while he was working in his driveway. I've seen videos of him and his dad working extremely hard, and his dad pushing him to another level. It's almost uncomfortable, I think, for most people to watch, but you know, it's all created that result for him personally. When you look at a team environment, and again, you can think about this for your business. If you're a coach or a trainer out there, you can think about it for the teams that you work with. That didn't happen to Villanova overnight. That all started, you know, a year ago. That all started probably even before that, a couple years ago. Everything for next season, high school, college, starts right now in the off season. The day that your season ends, your preparation for the next season and your new goals starts. And it's the same thing with Loyola. You know, Loyola kind of stole the headlines on top of Villanova, who was, you know, the best team in the tournament, in my opinion, and ended up winning, which doesn't happen very often. But the big headline was Loyola. Loyola surprised everybody, but in my opinion, the way that they played and the way that they acted, that was not a surprise to them. That was something that they had prepared for all year long, again, back in the offseason. And you heard a couple of their players talk about, you know, they had a chip on their shoulder because a lot of those guys, it might have been their only Division I offer. You know, it might have been one of the few Division I offers for them that they had. They all knew they could play at that level. They had put in a ton of work as guys growing up to get to the point that they were at. It didn't all just happen overnight. I think that gets lost in the shuffle. That gets lost in kind of the cool factor of the NCAA tournament, is that there's been a ton of time, work, and preparation that's been put in to being able to get to that point, being able to achieve some of the things that these teams and these individuals have. In one of the post-game interviews, I thought it was really powerful to hear this. The Loyola head coach didn't just talk about the preparation they'd gone through all year long. He talked about what things looked like when he first took over the program. He talked about how the culmination of that Final Four appearance for them started when he took over the program. He knew that he could build something that was that successful. He knew what he wanted his process to look like, and he put it into practice. He didn't just talk about it when he got the job. He got the job and actually put those things into place. That's, I think, the big lesson I want to share, and I want everybody to think about as this college basketball season comes to a close and everybody starts to move towards their off season. It's the same thing with high school basketball in Indiana. The state finals just ended a week or two ago. Right around the same time that all these things in the NCAA tournament were finishing up is when our high school seasons ended. It's time to go. It's time to get ready for next season. For high school athletes, especially the ones that want to play in college, it's time to prepare for your AAU season. You don't have a whole lot of time to sulk about what happened in your season or what did or didn't happen. You don't have a whole lot of time to rest. It's time to go. It's time to prepare. It's time to really put forth the effort for your AAU season. That's the more short-term goal. And again, for your next high school season, which is more of a long-term goal. Same thing for college basketball athletes. Whether your goal is to play at the next level professionally, whether your goal is to have another successful season with your team, whatever it is, your preparation begins now. We just had one of our guys back home for a couple days from TCU. He's a very high-level player. He's going to have some opportunities to work out with some NBA teams, even though he's a younger guy. And you know, I know he's got high goals and high expectations for next season for himself at the college level. And I know he's got goals and aspirations beyond college. He didn't waste any time. That was the first thing he said to me when he got home, or when he knew he was going to be home for a couple days, is, you know, he's not home very often. But it was a priority for him to get in the gym. I think it would have been really easy for him to just say, you know, hey, I haven't taken a break. I haven't gotten any off time. I haven't been home in a long time. I haven't seen all these people. I want to take a break. There's a time and place for that. Don't get me wrong. There's a time and place to set aside for family, to set aside to go see people that you haven't seen. But if your goal is to play at the highest level, if your goal is to build a business, a successful business, if your goal is to achieve some of these really high expectations and lofty goals you have for yourself, you better put that as a priority. You better set the tone every single day and put your plan into place to make those goals a reality and not just talk about it. Everything else, you can plan around what you need to do to achieve your goals. Okay, I'm not saying not to do those other things, because those other things are important. But sometimes you need to prioritize a little bit better. And that's, I think, one thing you can learn from the NCAA tournament is all of those things that those guys were able to do, all of those extremely incredible moments that were televised and highlighted and put on ESPN and playing on national television, all those really cool pieces of the NCAA tournament, those were not something that happened overnight for any of those athletes, no matter how talented they are. That took years and years and years of work that nobody saw behind closed doors. Commit to that. Whether you're an athlete or, again, somebody that's in business, commit to the work that it's going to take behind closed doors. You don't have to publicize it. You don't have to talk about it, but you got to put the work in. You personally are going to be the only one that knows if you're really putting that work in or not. It's going to come to fruition at some point, probably more in the public eye. But you have to commit to the stuff that's not as sexy or that's not as cool right now, that people don't see, in order to get to that point later. Commit to that today. Commit to that for the rest of this week. Set your goals. Put your plan into place. Start working behind closed doors where nobody sees it, so that you can see the culmination of your efforts down the road. Thanks again for tuning into this episode. Again, you have no idea how much I appreciate the love and support that all of you have shown to our businesses and to this podcast. If you don't mind, if you didn't already, please go to iTunes, subscribe to the podcast, leave us a rating, leave us a review. It helps us get ranked. It helps us reach more and more people with the messages that we're trying to spread. So again, go back to iTunes, subscribe, leave a rating, leave us a review. We really, really appreciate everything you're doing for us and all the support you've shown.